This was supposed to be the most ambitious project in human history. Seriously, a single, massive city, a mirrored line stretching right across the desert, designed to completely redefine life for 9 million people. But today, that incredible dream is in serious trouble.
So to really get what's going on here, we're not going to start at the beginning. Nope, we're jumping right into the middle of the chaos, right where this unbelievable vision is slamming into a very, very harsh reality.
And that's the big question we're digging into today. How on earth did a project with what seemed like unlimited money and ambition end up getting buried by the very sand it was supposed to conquer?
Okay, so just look at the difference here. On one side, you have the promise, a mind-bending, 170-kilometer-long mirrored city. And on the other side, the reality today, a sudden cash crunch, huge parts of the project just canceled, and the actual foundations, well, they're slowly disappearing back into the desert.
All right, to really see how we ended up here, we got to rewind and try to wrap our heads around the sheer, almost crazy scale of the original vision.
First thing you got to understand is that NEOM isn't just the line. It's an entire region. We're talking the size of Belgium here that was sold as a brand new civilization. You know, a totally clean slate for how humans could live and work.
The whole thing is built on these 4 kind of crazy pillars. You've got the Line, of course, the famous linear city. Then there's Trojana, a mountain resort that's somehow going to host the Asian Winter Games in the desert. You've got Oxagon, a floating industrial city that looks like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, and Sindala, a super luxe island for the world's richest people.
But let's zoom in on the Line, because that's the headliner. 170 kilometers. Let that sink in. That is literally farther than the distance between New York City and Philadelphia, for a single unbroken building. The scale is it's genuinely hard to process.
And the life they were selling? It was basically a perfect utopia. No cars, no streets, zero pollution, and everything powered by 100% renewable energy. Just imagine these walkable little neighborhoods stacked on top of each other, with hanging gardens everywhere, and a high-speed train that could zip you from one end to the other in just 20 minutes.
And you know what's fascinating is the mindset behind all this. Everyone was saying it was impossible, a fantasy. But the project's leaders had this incredibly defiant attitude, this absolute belief that they would prove everybody wrong. And for a little while there, it kind of looked like they might actually do it.
Okay, so where did it all go wrong? Well, this incredible vision ran headfirst into a brick wall of reality. We're talking physics, economics, and just plain logistics.
It really all kicked off with the budget. The first estimate was already a massive $1.6 trillion, but then it just exploded. The new internal number was $4.5 trillion. To give you some perspective, that is about the size of Germany's entire economy for a year. It's way more than the entire Apollo moon program, even adjusted for inflation. All of a sudden, even for a country as rich as Saudi Arabia, money was an issue.
And that's when the big dreams started to shrink. Fast. The original plan was for 20 interlocking sections, or modules. That got slashed to 12, then down to 7. And by the end of last year, the plan was for just 3 modules. A massive retreat from that initial vision.
So, why was this downsizing such a big deal? Well, a senior construction manager basically laid it all out. It came down to one critical thing: getting outside investors. To make it work, the city needed a population of at least 300,000 people, which meant building about 7 of those modules. Anything less than that, he said, was just uninvestable.
And that's when people on the inside started asking some really basic and frankly devastating questions. Like, where were these 9 million people actually going to come from? Could they possibly build it fast enough? Do they even have the technical skill to pull this off? The more they looked at it, the worse the numbers got.
As you can imagine, this created total chaos internally. They launched this secret audit, they called it Project Moon, to figure out what was happening with the budget. But what they found was that costs were being hidden, the timelines were a joke, and when senior staff tried to warn the board, they were basically ignored.
Okay, but here's where the story gets really interesting. Because while the actual physical city was falling apart on paper, something else was being built: a powerful brand and a new global perception. So here's the question: could this project be failing and succeeding at the exact same time?
Just think for a second about how the world saw Saudi Arabia. Before NEOM, you'd probably think of oil, maybe religious conservatism. But after NEOM, the whole conversation shifted. Suddenly, you're hearing words like futuristic, ambitious, high-tech, and visionary attached to the country.
And that's the big paradox here, right? NEOM got the whole world talking and attracted some of the planet's top talent and completely repositioned Saudi Arabia on the world stage. So yeah, the physical city might be in trouble, but the branding mission, you could argue it's already a huge success.
So, that leaves us with the trillion-dollar question. Where does this all go from here? What is the actual future for this incredible dream in the deserts?
For the line itself, the most likely future is, well, a much, much smaller version of itself. Maybe it'll only be a few kilometers long, not that 170-kilometer megacity, but more of a symbolic first step, a proof of concept. But, and this is a big but, you can't write this story off just yet. Don't forget, Saudi Arabia still has an unbelievable amount of money, they have the ambition, and they've built this whole public story that NEOM is a project for generations. Maybe it won't be done by 2030 or even 2040, but someday.
And that leaves us with one final, kind of haunting question. Even with all the money and all the vision in the world, can a dream this big, built on the shifting sands of reality, actually survive in the end?